this is your second appearance, and I've recently started with being firm about introductions, but because a lot of people might already like you, I felt like I'm gonna give an introduction for you.
Ooh, okay.
But it's actually really easy with you because you're very like, at least with the big things, you're like very transparent, very vocal about your life. I mean, you're Dominik Sobe, ladies and gentlemen. He's an awesome go-getter, a rare kind of digital nomad that actually lives by his own standards and living only from what he sells and develops. And a very successful indie hacker, web developer, and also community builder. I see you all the time, like then actually like meeting the people that you have that you meet within your indie hacker community. That's like really got something going there.
I'm trying. I mean, it's like, first of all, thank you for the introduction. That's flattering. But second of all, I wouldn't really call it community building in like the most logical sense, but I don't know. I just realized like when I started doing the whole nomading thing, I felt really lonely. Like it's very hard to find kind of like-minded people. And it just like struck me once that actually when I'm already traveling alone, I have all these friends on Twitter. Usually it's Twitter because I'm the most active there. And I noticed that all of my friends are already spread out around the world. So I realized, why not just try to like actually talk to them in real life, like a normal human being, not just behind my keyboard. And it turns out so many were actually down. Actually, everyone was down to meet. And it's really cool because it sort of like makes you not feel alone anymore when you travel, because you act like more or less know at least one person in one city. And that changed actually a lot. So that's what I'm trying to do. It's actually just me being lonely. It doesn't sound that, it's not that bad, but it's just me being lonely and just want to meet actually cool people. So I don't have like a specific like community type of building like in the back of my mind, but I guess you can call it like that.
Okay, gotcha. I saw like now, like even with the invitation now, 7 Degrees Lab is like a really established company.
Yeah. I mean, it's a US LLC incorporated in Wyoming.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wyoming. Do you get like with a company in this, like being the owner of a company in the US, do you get a special kind of visa?
No. I think that's like the most common misconception. If you are a foreign non-resident alien, aka you don't have any ties with the US, and you own a LLC there's no way to actually, at least what I know, to actually get a visa. It used maybe to be like that, but yeah. But to be really like in the beginning, I was like, oh, that's such a cute like little shortcut maybe. But then I found out about it. I was like, all right, I guess that would have been way too easy. Imagine how many people would try this.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not like a permanent non-resident visa, but at least like an easy way. Like we're Europeans, it's kind of easy with the ESTA to spend like 90 days. But like I would imagine for a lot of countries, it's really, really hard to even get into the US.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you seem to be in the US right now, right?
I am in the US.
What time is it in the US right now?
9:20 in the morning.
Oh wow! So good morning. It's 9:30 for me here in the evening.
Ooh, good evening.
Thank you. Where are you calling from?
So I'm currently in Texas, like somewhere between Austin and Houston. It's called College Station. It's where one of the biggest universities in Texas is based. Texas A&M University. It's like a Texas big agricultural university, but also like a lot of technical things like departments, I believe weapons, drones. Yesterday was 4th of July. They had like a big drone
wow,
show.
Yeah, that must have been crazy.
Yeah, it was 4th of July here is really a thing. It's really, really cool. We ate all day. We cooked half of the day and then ate the other half of the day.
Did you shoot some guns? Did you?
No, almost got run over by a police car.
Okay.
Like it was literally so close. Like I jumped in front, my girlfriend jumped in the back, her phone fell
Oh,
under the car and it just ran over.
heroic,
Uh,
heroic. You
like
saved
it
her life.
was no, we're actually standing a little bit apart, so there wasn't really much of intervention possible. But Jesus, it was really like that guy, like the police car, just drove in the on the wrong side, on the side of the road where we were standing, and just I guess he must have seen us because he really like tipped the brake a little bit before, and then just like hit the gas again, just boosted off.
Wow.
It was a little
That
scary.
that honestly sounds like Vietnam. That sounds more like Vietnam than the US. But I don't know, man. Can you just tell me one thing? Because I hear so many great things of Texas. Did you get the chance to eat some steak there, some barbecue?
So we're going to Austin on Friday, and we've
Hmm.
already put in a reservation or like a pre-order basically at Franklin's. It's
Okay,
supposedly the best or one of the best barbecue places in Texas.
nice.
However, they changed in a way. I don't think they have any sit-in anymore. You have to order exactly what you want, like a week before or a couple of days before, sometimes even
What?
longer. Because before that, my partner's been telling me you would. She lives like 1.5 hours away from Austin, so
Hmm.
they would get up at like 4 in the morning, try to be there in line by 6 or 7, and then still might or might not get food before they run out of meat.
What?
So it's this popular. So now they just changed it to people order in advance, which also makes much more sense with supply chain, right? And yeah, then you just pick it up at that time.
Man,
You just
we
order
studied.
meat by pound.
What? Really?
I think you ordered like
What?
7 pounds of meat
That's
for five
insane.
people.
But wait, so you pick it up and then where do you eat it?
That's actually a real issue because it has like a
Jesus.
100 degrees Fahrenheit, so like what, 36, 38 degrees out
Uh-huh.
here. I don't know how it is in Austin humidity wise, but here in College Station, especially in Houston, the humidity is so high. It's
Okay.
crazy. So you really can't stay outside. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I guess I don't know, maybe find a place where we could then eat it or just go back to the car and sit in the car and eat barbecue.
And then eat
I
it with
could
your
tell.
hands like it should be, back in the
Yeah,
days.
I feel like that's certainty. Like the
Okay, I want
brisket.
to see a video of this. That is a must. Please send me a video of this.
Okay, I will. Man, I'm so looking forward to brisket. I had one bite of brisket so far. It was a College Station staple. It's this taco place. I think Fuegos Tacos. And man, it
Fuego.
has really so little to do with what you would imagine when you see tacos. They're like
Hmm.
this big, and you actually like get them served. They're still like this large, and they're thick, and they have so much stuff in there. And one of them was called the Dr. Pepper Cowboy. It had like really heavy, wet, like southern sauce in it.
Oh,
It had like brisket, I think corn. And it was
okay.
so good. Like the brisket here
So
is just so good.
it didn't have actually Dr. Pepper like cola in it.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe they made the sauce with it, but it was
Uh-huh.
called that Dr. Pepper Cowboy. Yeah.
I'm just asking because I was doing a visa run 3 weeks ago while I was living in Bangkok. I had to do a
What's a
visa
visa
run.
run?
A visa run essentially is a I don't want to call it a hack because it's a very legitimate thing to do. But it's if you are living a little bit longer in a country than like a month, usually you need just to get a visa. Um,
Hmm.
and if Bangkok, for example, used to allow you to stay there 45 days for free, and then you could extend for another 30. You just go to immigration office, and then you pay a little bit of money, and then you can extend to a total of 75 days. However, after the 75 days are over, you are forced to leave the country. And then what you
Uh,
can do though is you can just go somewhere else, fly to a different country. Technically, you can even just go across like the land border, maybe to
mhm.
Cambodia, Laos, and then just come back. and you get the same visa all over again, and you can repeat this a couple of times. But then how I treat it is, I feel like after staying like 75 days in a location, I just get a little bit bored. So I just take it as a little vacation, if that makes any sense, and just go to a random place I've never been. And this time I picked Manila, capital of the Philippines. And have you been there?
No, never been to the Philippines.
It's an interesting city. I had no idea about it. I just heard like from a couple of people that it's like just like this huge city, and a little bit dirty, which, like, after now seeing it, I feel like that's like to a certain extent true. But I would say like Manila is so big; it has like a whole sort of business district that looks like sort of like New York, Manhattan type. So like has a lot of things. But what I want to say is they have this. They essentially have this like local fast food chain called Jollibee's. Um, it's like a huge thing there. And Jollibee's is like known, well, more or less like for like chicken, sort of like KFC, but then they also have like this. I'm sorry for every Filipino listening to this. Really gross, like pasta that should be sort of like ragu, but like it's not really. It's like really sweet, like tomato sauce, but absolutely horrible. And so you're actually supposed to gulp all of this down with something that I learned is called Coke float. Now, I'm not sure if
Coke
this.
float.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is like just a Filipino thing. Might be like a US thing as well. It's essentially like it's like a chocolate milkshake combined with whipped cream and Coca-Cola. And that's your meal.
Wow. Chocolate milk cream with Coca-Cola.
Yes. So honestly, like, I'm not gonna lie, it actually tastes amazing, which is the horrible thing, because you get like diabetes probably from drinking too. But so that was, I was curious about maybe your Dr. Pepper taco beef brisket just like casually had Coca-Cola, like Dr. Pepper in it. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I've had my first time Dr. Pepper last year in summer. So I'm not really an expert on it, but I can tell you that Fuego's Tacos, the Dr. Pepper Cowboy, is great.
It is Fuego. Nice.
It is Fuego. No, man. There's a lot of crazy food here to discover. So yeah, Friday first time Texas barbecue. Although I already had so much amazing food here, and I've only been here for a couple of days.
Awesome. Do you try to keep like a caloric sort of, I don't want to say deficit, but do you try to keep at least at your maintenance, or do you just go in full bulk?
No, I mean the last week since I came back to DS were a little crazy. Also because my partner graduated and we've been traveling, doing stuff with her family. So like a lot of big family meals. But I'm trying to really be more conscious about what I eat and how much I eat, especially like just because I don't want to feel bad. Like there's just a certain once you hit a certain amount of food, you just that day is over, and then maybe even the next day is over. So that's like really important. But yeah, I'm doing lots of sport right now, so I'm trying to counterbalance the heavy Southwest cuisine. But
nice.
It's great. You can't complain about the food here. The only thing you can complain is there's too much good food you want to try. But I feel like that's a really good thing.
Tell me and the audience, what sports do you do? I actually never asked you this.
Well, I mean, since true, last time we did a podcast, I was actually not doing sports. I just had my elbow surgery.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was like a month, not 2 months later. Jeez, it's already like 1.5 years. It's insane. Yeah, so currently just hit the gym a couple of times a week, trying to rebuild a good amount of muscle mass.
Nice.
Because
you're
like
trying to
for
fight
the
Elon
years
Musk
before, I mean, not not necessarily, but I'm actually wanna start some martial arts again. So I did judo for many years
Okay.
in as a kid, and did a bit of Thai boxing in
Uh-huh.
college. Yeah,
Okay.
actually thinking of doing Thai boxing again,
Nice.
like in
I
fall.
started Muay
Yeah,
Thai in Bangkok. Yes.
nice. Oh, what a place to start Thai
Yes.
boxing.
Man,
How's it going?
well, to be honest, I absolutely underestimated how hard it is in terms of your like cardiovascular
Yes.
endurance. I had absolutely no idea. And I did hear from friends that some people throw up on the first session. And I was like, well, that's a bit exaggerated, obviously.
Mm,
But to be honest, I was like close to throwing up. It was just like
mm.
insane. And they drill you down. Like they make you like so little, which I fell in love with this. Um,
Yeah.
the interesting thing is that like I went to this very local gym in Bangkok, like not really a fancy one. Nobody spoke English there, like just like hands and feet,
Oh
and
wow.
so it was like a really really authentic experience. And I really enjoyed it. Like I felt like they didn't really care like who I am. They were just like taking me in and were like, all right, let's learn. So really, I really appreciated that, and I learned like all the sounds like you gotta make like ooh and like all that stuff, because otherwise you're not a Muay Thai fighter, man. Um, so yeah, that was really cool. And then also I did I did a couple of sessions in Koh Phangan, like an island in
Hmm.
Thailand. Um, that was also really 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 cool. So yeah, I got a little bit into it, but like to be really really honest, I feel like I need to work more on my cardio first to really enjoy
Mm,
the actual sessions. Um,
yeah.
because I realized I did a couple of private sessions and they were okay, but the group sessions, you
Yeah.
get drilled. Like I just honestly, it's hard for me to keep up. And
Yeah.
I'm 26 years old. I shouldn't be at this stage, but I just I do like I really like weightlifting, working out, and I try to do it like every other day. But yeah, I kind of neglected the whole cardio thing a bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Every gym bro ever. Um, so yeah, that's on my agenda.
Yeah, like the cardio is such a big part. And so far I've been very, very lazy about that. But I feel it in the gym now. Like I feel like I've hit this plateau and I don't get over it by just training more, training harder. I really
Mm,
have to just work on the actual power my body can produce. And there is no way around cardio. There's no way around like normal cardio. So do you know Peter Attia?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of
So
course.
for anyone who doesn't know, it's like this longevity doctor, like one of the, I guess, foremost experts on the topic of how you keep your health level really high throughout your lifetime. And there are like several factors to like your physical health, but the two that he really highlights and that are especially relevant for me are like level 2 exercises. So basically, cardiovascular training, where you try to produce the more mitochondria in your body, in your cells, to create more energy. It's kind of like the powerhouse of your body, and you do that by level 2 exercises, meaning you go for a run, you sit on a bike, you go on a hike, whatever, to a level where you can still talk to someone else, or in
Hmm.
my case, sing along to Eye
Oh,
of the
okay.
Tiger while running.
Jeez. I want a
But
video of that too, by the way. But
it's already hard to do so. So it's like it's not like a chill run, but you're kind of like at the level where you can still somewhat talk. And that's important because otherwise you trigger different processes in your body. So you should do that a couple of times a week. I
huh.
think the recommendation is like 4 times a week for 45 minutes or 3 times for an hour
That
to
sounds a
really
lot. Like,
build
not
up.
gonna lie.
That's a
Like,
lot.
I get you,
That's
but
a
it
lot.
sounds a lot. Sort of boring. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, yes, I can like go on the treadmill and like walk an hour, but like, it kind of gets boring. I mean, yeah, you can listen to music or like listen to podcasts, but at one point you're like, I want to do some like actual activity. But I get it. Interesting. I didn't know about the like keeping the pace a little bit slower to actually have
Yeah.
health benefits.
No, that's super important. And I mean, for me right now, so I started yesterday, and now I really want to keep regular runs, just getting up, going on a run, which is also like I went on a run just before coming on the podcast, and you kind of have to do it in the morning here because it's already at like 30 degrees when I wake up, and afterwards you just can't. It's not possible to go on a run. So it's great. It forces me to get up a little early.
Wow. When do you get up?
Currently at 8.
Wow, that's impressive. I mean, as a night owl, I've been struggling with this like a lot, and I realized, man, I've been like always going to bed really late and waking up really late. Well, yeah, that makes sense. And it has been working amazingly for the past like 25, 24 years maybe. But the past year, man, I don't know what it is. Maybe like because like 25, you're closer to 30, and something changed. And then I realized when I like the longer I am awake after midnight, the worse I feel when I wake up. And it's not like I did something against it. I was just always going to bed around like 3, waking up like between like 10 to 1 p.m., like 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then starting my day like really late. And it was good. But then I realized I just, my body is just like really taking, sort of like, I don't know. I just realized it's not good for my health. So I'm now really trying to get up early, like earlier. And it's this very slow process. And I do like everything I can do that I like learned from like all the, the famous people on the internet with opinions about how to improve your sleep. Andrew Huberman, just one of them. Man, it's like I slowly I can manage to like get up earlier. Today I woke up at 9, which is insane for me. And I feel so much better. It's such a like I saw like this is now this is definitely bro science. I saw on Reddit someone saying that for every hour you go to bed before midnight, you actually get 2 hours of restful sleep. So obviously not probably scientifically backed, but I sort of get it because when I go to bed before midnight, I just wake up much more refreshed. I don't know what it is.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I was just thinking about that as well because like my baseline getting up for the last 14 months was 8:30. And that's not late. It's not early. It's kind of like somewhere in the middle. If you like, the problem why I went with 8:30 is because I have such a hard time going to bed before midnight. It just hardly ever happens. And if I'm sitting at home and work, some of my most productive work boosts are somewhere short before midnight, and then sometimes like into the early or like 1 to a.m. hours. Especially earlier in my life, that was definitely a thing. But also like when you have like a social life, when you go out for dinner, or there's like some family stuff when I'm in Austria, or just all sorts of things, and you do something. When I don't get home before 11, so it takes an hour before you actually go to bed. So kind of like 8:30 was like, okay, when I aim for being in bed by midnight, it's usually a little bit later, and I still get my 8 hours of sleep, and that's been great. I need a lot of sleep. But I've been thinking about like occasionally when I go to bed a lot earlier, I feel like I can also get up. I don't, if I only get in 7.5 hours or 7 hours, I still feel relatively well. So I'm actually trying to push it now. Maybe by the end of this week, I'm gonna try 7:30. I'm gonna try like 7. And I have to see how I do the end of the day, like kind of keep it shorter. But I want to push myself, like first of all, to also try out how much better the quality of the sleep would be if I go to bed earlier. But also, we are just talking about Thai boxing. There is Thai boxing at Stanford. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's 6:30.
Oh,
and it's only Thai boxing they offer for free.
Oh,
Otherwise, like a colleague of mine, he's been going Thai boxing for the last 2 years, and he drives 2, 3, 4 times a week to San Francisco, which is like a 1 hour commute, then parks there and then pays like a couple of hundred a month. I mean, he's now doing like amateur fights, so he's really serious about it. But I just want to have fun again, just do Thai boxing.
yeah.
But the 6:30, like 6:30, being in the gym, warmed up, like that's a challenge, and I feel like it's not as easy as just being like, oh yeah, just get up at 6:30. Yes, but it has like this whole chain of consequences that I also have to go to bed at like what 11, or earlier if I really need the 8 hours. So the
Hmm.
whole effect that would be really cool if I could reduce my sleep to like 7.5 or 7 hours just by going to bed before midnight.
Yeah. Have you like ever heard about like the concept of like sleep cycles, like the body goes
Yeah.
through? Yeah, right. I think what changed for me is in the past few months finding out how my sleep cycle actually is for me. Because like on average, people say like 90 minutes is one full sleep cycle. So you should always wake up in a factor of
Mhm.
1.5 hours, right? Um, and but that's like the average. So if you want to really find this out, how do you do it? There are apps like iPhone apps that I've been using, and there's one's really good, not
Mm.
sponsored, called Sleep Cycle. A lot of people know this, I think. And it is absolutely amazing. It essentially tracks, it sort of tracks your all the noises that you make throughout the night. And by using some AI
Ah,
algorithms, it tracks how your sleep cycle is. So like it knows when you're
yeah.
awake and it knows when you sleep. And I actually been hacking with this, like trying to find out when can I, like, how can I wake up in an in wake phase? Because I also realized just the other day, actually, I woke up and I felt absolutely horrible. And I realized I literally woke up in the deep sleep phase. And then
Um,
I was like, okay, you know what? Let me try this again. So next day, I on purpose, like same time, I woke up again during the deep sleep phase, and I absolutely felt horrible. Next day, I was like, all right, let me shift my alarm clock. Woke up in my awake phase, already felt much better. So it's anecdotally, obviously,
hmm.
but that is something like I'm just trying to find every hack I can, I guess. But to be really honest, I think the most important one, because you said like going to bed is like hard for you, and like for me as well. I think having a good like sleep hygiene before you go to bed is like the most
Yeah.
important. But like that's where I struggle the most. I'm just like I'm on my phone all the time, like watching. I sort of watch YouTube videos to calm down, but if I really think
Uh,
about it, it's actually not helping to calm down. It's like the opposite.
no.
So what I've been doing is I'm using like like sort of like screen time trackers, but they actually prevent you after a certain time to actually access the apps. So
Mhm.
religiously using these as well. And so now I'm just like really trying to hack my way into this. But the missing piece is just having like a little like nighttime routine, where you're just like you're brushing your teeth, you're reading a bit, the light is like a little bit more dimmed. I'm still trying to figure this. It's so hard being a nomad doing this, to be honest. Like almost impossible. You need to have a bit of a base to do this. Um, but yeah, definitely when I have a base, that's what I'm pursuing.
With base, you mean like one place to be at, like a stable environment, stable rhythm?
Yeah, I think like traveling. I mean, I gave up on the idea of traveling every week, every month, because
Yeah.
like when you start doing this, like you think that a digital nomad should travel, like you travel every week to a new city or a new country. Absolutely exhausting,
Yeah.
horrible. It's all like, especially if you want to get work done, there's no way, like no way.
Yeah.
And then I thought like, okay, let's see, and how I can improve it. And then I started doing 3 months, and now I'm between like staying at one specific place for like 3 to 5 ish months. Um,
Okay.
and that's like I think the sweet spot, like where I just feel a bit like home, because otherwise
Yeah.
you just you feel like like always like a really outsider, and
Yeah.
yeah, that wrecks your sleep, that wrecks your gym routine,
Yeah.
actually relationships as well. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And also like the stress, the environmental stress, like as cool as it is to come to a new place, whenever I get somewhere I've never been before, there is this just baseline. I guess it comes like from our like older part of the brain we're just currently scanning the environment, looking out for things. Usually the temperature is different, so there's like those physical factors as well. But it's just like this psychological thing of like, I don't know this environment. Where do I sit? Where do I sleep? Where do I do this and that? And then just like which place of the places that I can use are for what, and where's danger, where does noise come from, like all of those different things. Whenever I come to a new place, I'm much more aware of how there's like some kind of scanning process in the back of my head.
Yes.
And that must take energy and time as well.
It does. And I think another thing that like if you go to a new place as a nomad, you want to find a routine as fast as possible so you can actually go back and get your work done, while also sort of exploring the new place that you're in, right? You want to have this balance. So what if you don't have a strategy to this, you just go to a new place and then you're like, all right, I'm just gonna like explore for 2 weeks now, but then you get completely out of your productivity rhythm. Or you're just gonna work, but then you feel really like, I am at this super cool place, but now I'm again stuck in a coffee shop. I could be literally in a village in Austria back home. I wouldn't know, you know? So yeah, maybe the people look different, but it's like from an actual like experience perspective, same. So what I've been like religiously just doing is like having like some sort of like mental framework to like whenever I go to a new city, just like the things that I need to do first in order to feel like at home. Be it like finding a gym, really like first thing, finding a gym. Second thing is like, how do I get food? Where can I like finding like 2 or 3 good restaurants where I can actually order food from, just to like, so I get like a little bit of a routine in.
Yeah.
And also like little things that might bother you in the background, which you don't even think about. For example, literally like thinking about what, like if something would happen, like in terms of like medical emergency, where would I go? Because you have absolutely no idea. So just writing this down, like writing down one recommended hospital already makes you feel so much more at ease. And yeah.
Damn. Is it all from figuring out yourself, or are there like lots of blogs about these little hacks?
No one. I mean, I feel like not a lot of people are talking about this specifically because you see like very generic. Honestly, I don't read generic digital nomad blog posts because they are all really boring, and it's like people go to coffee shops to get a matcha latte and work, which is like so vanilla, like not vanilla. It's just like stereotypical, right? And that's just not the real life. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's sitting in like under like palm trees on their laptop because there's a lot of sand, man. Like you don't want to have your laptop in combination with sand. It gets like wrecked, right? So no, it just like over time, I just got like upset. Like, and then I was like, man, I just need to find a strategy. And now I actually, for Bangkok, for example, I written like this huge Notion document, like categorized like things, what's happening, like how to actually extend my visa. Then I have like written it fully down, and I have like a thing like what are the 3 hospitals like that are actually the best. So I like structured this really nicely. And maybe I will just release it like as a sort of guide. There is this Austrian-raised, really cool designer. Also, I think he used to live like a lot in the US, Thomas van Schneider. I don't know if you heard about him.
No.
Really, really great designer. I think he's born in Germany, but raised in Austria. And he moved to New York, and he made this guide, how to move to New York. And I never been to the US, and I never really considered moving to New York, but I bought the book and I browsed through it, and it was absolutely amazing. And this really inspired me. So maybe in the future I will just make like some sort of like the same idea, but like more towards like digital nomad, like the cities where I go to, because like I don't have an idea about the other ones. Because there's already places like Nomad List, which I absolutely love, for like nomads to find out places where they want to go. But then when it comes to the nitty gritty details, nobody on the internet publicly has either the passion or even thinks about telling you a little bit about like the super easy things. What are the like two gyms I actually like? What are the two restaurants I actually go to? Like so simple, but that helps you so much in the beginning just to get started. Yeah. So that was just like thoughts that I played with.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, everything you do just requires so much effort and research, and there's always so much uncertainty. How long have you been a digital nomad?
2.5 years, I think.
Okay. So that
maybe more, like 3 years actually, but
yeah.
It
started with like Lisbon.
Technically, yeah. Like I did my master's in Lisbon, but it never felt like I did my master's there. It felt more like I was nomading through Lisbon, working on my startup, and sort of trying to finish my master's degree. Yeah.
It was also during COVID, right? So no physical presence required.
Man, yes. That was like, I think it was maybe a blessing in disguise. Like I was a bit pumped out about it because, the whole like master campus life is kind of cool, especially in Lisbon. But then I really wanted to get my startup to like ramen profitability, aka making enough money that I can live off of it. So I was like,
profitability.
Yeah, that's what we call it in the indie hacker scene. I think like VC world, some fancy people call it default alive. Like same. And I feel like, I just spent the entire year working on things and like actually not neglecting, but minimizing like socializing stuff. Like I didn't really socialize that much. I didn't drink at all, which was really healthy. I did not eat really well, so that's like counteracted maybe a bit. But still, I was so focused on getting this thing to work because I knew that when I graduate, either I have to actually find that job, which I really didn't want to. I mean, this sounds so millennial / Gen Z, but like it was just true. Like I was already making a bit of money with my apps, and I realized like if I just could make a little bit more, I actually can be on myself, like be on my own. And so that's when I started my nomading journey, and then I went to Southeast Asia.
When did you hit ramen profitability?
I hit ramen profitability maybe last April. Like last April, I think I made around maybe 2,000 euros ish monthly recurring revenue. Nice. And that was actually more than enough, like to live in Southeast Asia. In Europe, it was, I mean, obviously it depends on how much like quality of life and how much you spend. But Lisbon back then was actually pretty affordable. Now, unfortunately, it's not the case anymore. It's like extremely expensive.
Really?
Yes.
What?
Like it got really gentrified. But to be honest, it's just part of people finding out that Lisbon or like Portugal is a really cool place to be, I guess. It's the most hipster place to be right now. Like Lisbon is the new San Francisco right now. I don't know if you know this, but like that's everyone, even like a lot of Americans actually moving to Lisbon. And that comes with a red tail of like some sort of local issues, I guess. I think because so many digital nomads were moving to Portugal, especially Lisbon, which is a very already dense city, especially the city center. The nomads, right? Like they have like a little, like a beneficial tax program. They pay less tax than the locals. And then additionally, you have a higher purchasing power, maybe because you work for your company. And so naturally you don't really care much about housing prices that much because they were pretty affordable. And so the issue with that is that actually drove, like, landlords are obviously greedy. Like nothing against landlords, obviously, but that's just business. So landlords increased the price because the demand actually increased. And so they, locals were sort of slowly kind of forced out of the city center, which is like not nice. And the huge issue is that there is a really, really especially on the internet. Obviously, like on Twitter, it's not the real word, but like you can see it on Twitter, very exaggerated. Like locals have a very negative sentiment now towards digital nomads in Lisbon, especially in Lisbon. And like they go on protests. There's like street signs, like graffiti that say like "Go back home," like really
Oh wow.
kind of nasty stuff. And the thing is, like, I don't think it's like the locals to blame because they can't do anything, like, right? Like, it's nomads coming, but also it's not the locals you should blame. It's actually the government. Like, believe it or not, it's like I think, and I'm not sure if this is like any controversial, but this is actually one of the big tasks of a government to make sure that you sort of regulate this. And they didn't really do it. And now they are like, now digital nomads are just sort of, well, not the guinea pigs, but they are just like that. They are there now, and the sentiment is just a bit more negative. So that drove the prices really up. And like man, a friend of mine was buying a house. He bought a house in Lisbon, and its value increased by, I think, like 4 times in the past 8 months or something.
Wow. In 8 months?
Yes, it's absolutely insane. And so if you think about it, he's considering maybe selling it right now because like that's like it's like a it's a treasure trove. But so that gives you a sense, right? It's like this insane wave of people now coming to Lisbon.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then I was like, I was there during the pandemic, and it was so calm. It was so nice.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, maybe it's time to get out. And back then, when we actually, before we had the call, I think we had a call in January, right? Was it February maybe?
You mean in 2021?
20.
Yeah, something I remember that you were working on your master thesis and we were
Right.
talking about tokenomics.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Web3, which is dead right now.
Sleeping, hibernating.
Now it's AI. Now all the Web3 bros move to AI.
Christ. LinkedIn is such a horror show right now. Like
man,
it's
you
really
spend
great.
more time on LinkedIn. You must see all the. I avoid them like the plague, man.
I don't do Twitter, so if I want to get buzzing, booming, pop tech culture, I have to go on LinkedIn, and I have to be really, really happy. You actually have to be really, really happy about this sudden shift of trends, because when you have people who are always talking about Web3 from one day to the other, just sharing stuff only about generative AI, you can block them without losing any quality of information. Like you never have to consider those people ever again. And that's wonderful.
That's smart. I think it's like, I think in places like Bali, you can see this really well. For example, like co-working spaces, they have all these workshops, right? And where just random people can just like give a talk like about whatever they want. And like I like I'm in the WhatsApp group, so I see like the new events popping up, and you literally see like the guys that are now like doing these like generative AI talks. They still have like Web3 in their like profile name, so it's like so cringe. It's like I couldn't make money with Web3 because obviously it was way harder than I thought, and now I'm just gonna make, I don't know, somehow money with AI by telling people that they should buy my prompt. I have no idea, man. It's just like, it's pathetic. But that's honestly, that's just part of like, maybe life. Like these people exist.
Yeah.
Just part of it. But what I wanted to ask you, I went onto LinkedIn for the first time in a while today to actually stalk you. And I found out what you're actually doing at Stanford. Can you tell me a bit about it? Because it looks super cool.
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently doing a 2 years master's program. It's called Education Data Science. It's at Stanford School of Education. And I like to describe it as how to utilize new technologies in education. And it's like a super new field. So education data science is not a thing yet. The term was kind of coined, I don't know, in the last 3 years, 4 years. There's not really a big industry, but you see it growing because like all those data science jobs and applications are just rising, like in overall industries, and finally also in education. And it's really important because, of course, you have bringing new applications into the field of teaching or education in general, but also you already had a couple of edtech waves, just like educational startups trying to disrupt the educational space. But you didn't have anyone who was actually good at understanding the data, like on a let's say on a broad. You didn't have really a community that saw it as their day's work, their life's work, to evaluate, to really make sure that all this ed tech that is being implemented is not more harmful than good.
Mm-hmm.
And now you actually have that. Now, like the first generations of education data scientists get out there, and some of them at least will work on that from that side. And it really combines like just this interest and domain expertise of education with a good either data analytics or statistics or machine learning background and skill set.
Okay, so if I want to teach, like, so help me understand this, like from a perspective, like from a like educational. Say this again. I need to hear this again.
Education data science.
Okay, a little bit of a mouthful. Like education data science. I see.
It's a mouthful.
Like, do we also talk about like utilizing sort of like AI in terms of like helping you, like helping people how to learn all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean all sorts of different applications, right? Everywhere where you can automate something, AI applications get interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So be it learning platforms, for example, it's like a very popular part, like it's like Duolingo or Coursera or Udemy is like platforms that also try to do like some analytics. I actually don't know if Coursera does any analytics, but it's like maybe more traditional edtech. But yeah, wherever you try to do evaluation of the person's learning path and individualized learning, the whole data science aspect becomes very relevant. But then also like more or less popularized, let's say, for example, my partner, she works on teachers. So classroom management stuff, and how they interact. So it's a topic I can't talk that much about right now because she's working on so many different applications and so many different research projects right now that are not released yet. But it's definitely something I will talk about in the future because it's just super cool work. But just to say it more generally, there are many applications of AI, be it to help teachers, to help students, to help just people generally that want to learn, and all of that requires, especially like on individual basis, when you want to make it more valuable for the specific needs of an individual, the answer often, not always, but often lies in really, really good data analysis and using this data to automate processes.
Wow. That sounds a bit like what a nerd would say. I'm just kidding. Just messing with you. I want to ask you like a very sort of like, I don't know, like top level, kind of like bird's eye view. What do you think about something? What do you think about like kids these days obviously utilizing like generative AI for like outputting some sort of their schoolwork? I been thinking about this a bit because it is, I don't think you can avoid this from happening. Barely, like almost impossible. I talked to, I'm currently here in Saigon, in Vietnam, and I did a food tour the other day with like this 21-year-old student studying business here in Saigon. like proper Gen Z. And I was like, he's like currently like doing all of his like coursework right at university, and I was like, so man, how is it? Like, do you use AI? And he's like, man, like I cannot live without AI anymore. Everything I do is like supported by like ChatGPT. And I was like, for a brief moment, I was like, okay, makes sense. I'm kind of using it as well for my business. But then I was like, if I think back when I was at school, like I really don't regret to not have it, because it actually helped to like sort of, I don't know, train my brain a bit, like to actually sit there and kind of think before I take a very easy option of like using AI. So I'm just curious, what do you think about this? And is there already like, do you see trends? Is there something that's actually people already thinking of? I mean, it's gonna have to be addressed someday or another in a very short term future, no?
With trends, you mean people using it more, especially like in a learning
Yeah.
context?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, a lot. So big topic for teachers, students. Like whenever you give them any assignment, right? There is this very easy option of just popping open ChatGPT and getting output, or any other platform that is comparable. Like Google's Bard, for example, makes it a little easier because it actually has access to Google, so it can give you live information and not just what ChatGPT is trained to up end of 2021, I believe. So there's certainly a big rise there, and that's gonna create some shift. I don't want to say it's gonna be super disruptive, because that's just impossible to give a really good prognosis of. But it will have some effect. So whenever someone will write an essay, why not either write an essay and then throw it into ChatGPT to give you a rating of how good it is, or give you suggestions how to do it better, or the other way around, just help you brainstorming an essay. The application of being like, hey, write an essay about XYZ for me, doesn't work that well, because obviously teachers are learning to identify those essays, and they are quite obvious in a lot of ways. So if you're just like one prompt, throwing it in there, one output, and not really working over it yourself, like it's just too obvious, and teachers will respond to that negatively and will probably punish you. So from including it in a large process and letting it do one thing, has probably huge advantages also for your learning, because you get this personalized guide and personalized buddy to work with. But like having it replace the whole process of creating something, I don't think will work, or at least we're not there for students to utilize it in whatever way, like no ethical judgment, but just in a way that suffices the requirement for the quality they have to bring, because it's just not good enough, and it's too homogeneous. When 5 students in that class will use it, there would definitely be it identifiable.
Okay, I see. Fair point. I mean, I could counteract with the fact that probably in 1 year from now, it will be even harder to identify. Maybe if you throw in like some prompt engineering where you're like,
Yes.
you know that there's going to be 5 other people writing about this.
Yes.
So try to be really unique. You know what I mean? But okay, I get that. Yeah, it's an interesting, maybe also like really, to be honest, I felt like a grandpa when I was like talking with him about this, because obviously I have this old school perspective of like, no, you need to use your brain, blah blah blah, right? Because it helps you grow. But then again, it's a supportive agent. So if you use it as a supportive agent,
yeah,
yeah, interesting where this is going. Really,
especially
cool.
like what you just said, like the prompt engineering thing, the risk, or why it is perceived as so risky, is because it can save you a lot of time. Instead of sitting down for 2 hours and writing an essay, you can just have an essay written in 50 seconds. However, if you like, this might not create the output you need because it might be easily identifiable. If you then have to sit down and prompt engineer, like, you will spend at least half an hour or an hour doing that. And then you could have already wrote a subpar or maybe even okay essay. So it's not as easy anymore. And I feel like this is the big difference, like, for your brain. If you just want to play games and you can get something in a minute instead of spending an hour on it, that's one thing. But if you like, you don't gonna do the calculation, should I cheat and invest half an hour in it, or should I do it right and do 1 hour in it, then probably the trade-off is not worth it anymore. So there I don't see a huge of a risk. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it as dramatic, and I'm not the foremost expert on the topic, and probably there is none because it's just so new and everything is changing all the time, and there are new applications shooting out like mushrooms off the ground, on the ground, in the ground. Jesus, can't get my English right now, but it's definitely an exciting time to also be in education and kind of like within this education at buzz, because you get so much information of all the stuff that's happening.
Cool. Okay. Interesting. I feel like, on a tangent to this, like completely unrelated, but I think it's really funny to just bring this in because it's sort of related. This guy I was talking to during the food tour, right? He's like 21 years old. So apparently, in Vietnam, it's still very, like, obviously I'm just speaking from his perspective. So don't get this as something like that is like truthfully, because I just got his perspective. But he was like, so, when you are, like, back then, the whole dating culture, right? It's still very, sort of, still, traditional in a way. Like, you want a long-term boyfriend. There's not really like casual dating. And he's like, all of this telling me like just randomly. And I absolutely loved it. It was like this huge, like, Gen Z, but then like localized lesson, right? And then he was like, so when it was so funny, he was like, so, there are so many trap girls and trap boys out there. And I was like, wow, what do you mean? Right? And for everyone from the US, would be like, wow, well, what is he talking about? Right? Like, people selling drugs, like, what is happening in Vietnam, right? And then I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, so no. I'm like, what, like selling drugs? And he's like, no. So if you're like a boy or a girl and you're on Tinder or like Bumble, the dating apps, like, you're considered to be a trap boy or like a trap girl. I was like, man, like, that's what you call them. He's like, yeah, dude, like, everyone's like saying this. I'm like, where did you get that from? And he's like, I don't know. It's just like TikTok, and like everyone's calling you a trap boy if you're like on Tinder, And man, like, I bursted out like in laughter because I was like, what? Like, it's such a funny way of like some like language,
Trap
like,
boy.
right? Like, they use like this specific English word which is like can have like a really different meaning, but then they use it here for like casual dating, I guess. So funny. So funny.
Wild. Yeah, like language and how we perceive certain things and how we value certain things just changes so rapidly, especially when you're young, right? Like, everything is completely new defined year by year.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there is like people. What I realized, at least, like with him, he was like, yes, he was like talking about like the trap girl and the um, trap girl, trap boy, whatever. But then, what was really interesting, maybe just a bit on another tangent, is like how, like, still, like, so many things you think that are different, like in Southeast Asia or like versus like the West or like in Europe, like everything is like the same. Like the whole dating thing, like everyone's like so the same thing. People are now on Tinder and like the whole dating apps, right? Still a bit traditional, but it really opened up like a little bit of my mindset, because when you like read the things on the internet, everything seems so like, so I don't know, like so cold, so strict, and you talk to actually someone that is like 21 years old, and just living there. Okay, I keep talking a lot about this 21-year-old guy that was my tour guide. I can highly recommend him. So if anyone comes to Saigon, just let me know so I can forward
What's his
him.
name? Or what's his platform
Zayen.
name?
Zayen.
Cyan?
Yeah. But it's like I booked it on Get Your Guide, so I would have to like send you the link.
Yeah, send me the link. I'll include it.
Yeah.
Get You Guide. Okay. It's like a free walking tour, or?
No, it's paid.
Okay.
There's like, that's also a funny thing. There is like this is it a German company called Sandemann, and they do like these free walking tours around the world. It's like so I love to just pay for the tours, right? Because I think there's a lot of value, so might as well pay for it. But so these Sandemann tours, they're like, you like the first one I did, obviously after the second one I realized what's going on. But you do this free, it's advertised as a free walking tour. And then you do this and I honestly like amazed because like people are amazing, the tour guides. But then in the end, it's like, all right, so we're at almost the end. Now it's donation time. All right, how much are you donating? And I'm like, what? I mean, I get it. It's a free tour. But like, honestly, come on, it's actually a paid tour, because who's gonna be like the bad guy or girl who's not gonna like tip them, obviously.
Yes.
And then it is such a smart business strategy, because people tip much more. People tip much more when they like, when they're sort of like, oh, I guess like that's a little value. Yeah.
No, you have so much more people like registering for those things. And if you have like a certain price, right, and then it says like, up to 12 people or up to 8 people, you already like rate things differently. But with that, you actually have no feature comparison.
Yeah.
So you just go to one and then you pay whatever you feel like it. Like I feel I usually paid somewhere between 5 and 15 euros or the equivalent. But like I love free walking tours. Also like with the perspective of, okay, I just give them how much I feel like that was worth it. But there are like some other factors playing into it. Like for example, if it's a tour of 20 people, I'm much less willing to pay a lot of money because the person already gets so much money. But sometimes, like once in somewhere in Colombia, I did a tour and we were 2 people. And like that guy just gave you a 1.5 hour tour. You're like, okay, I'm not, like you can't, even if the tour is bad and it really wasn't great. You can't just give him a couple of bucks because you're just like, oh. Yeah. So there are like pros and cons with it. But generally, I'm really happy I had the most amazing tours, especially when it was like locals.
Yeah.
Like not tour guides, but just one time, it was somewhere in Cuba. There was just a student. She just gave us a tour and she just showed us her city.
Okay.
And she had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. It was great. Like it wasn't official. It was like very personal. It's like, hey, yeah, that's where I go shopping usually. And there you can get the best that and that. It wasn't touristic at all. It was also not a super touristic city. And yeah, that's something you hardly get with a big agency.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, okay, 2 things to this. I want to just end the whole free walking tour thing because I just remembered one funny thing, which is like, man. So I did one free walking tour with a really good friend of mine, Marian. You know him from Icons.
Sure.
Shout out to Marian.
Shout out to Marian. He's also traveling all the time, right? Like I just see him at the Icons, alumni cons.
Yeah, he's just he's still the alumni cons. How do we call him? I call him alumnicons angel, I guess. He's just like spreading the love, the Icons love around. Icons, for everyone that doesn't know, it used to be our student consultancy. We used to be part of this association.
Shout out to Icons.
Shout out to Icons. Yes. So just to end the free walking tour. So with Marian, I was in Porto, in the north of Portugal. A really beautiful city. J.K. Rowling wrote part of her Harry Potter books there, even though she denied it, but it actually got debunked. Another story, funny, but like let's not get into this. So we did this free walking tour, right? and really great tour, really great tour. And at the end, so like we were like 5 people, and there was like this really really actually nice, like older, maybe in his like 40s, like Italian guy, and he used to like ask questions, like really was engaged in the entire tour. And at the end, after like we finished the tour, like almost finished, right? We were about to like giving tips, or actually just paying for it. Everyone's like giving him like, I don't know, 15 euros equivalent or something. And then at the very last second, like the tour guide talks about like this very funny fact in Portugal, that apparently you can get put into jail by catcalling ladies. So if you like actually catcall them, I'm not like really sure if that is 100% true. Maybe it was sort of a joke, but for whatever reason, like this really actually like very calm, like Italian man got really upset about it. So he was like, Mamma mia, what do you mean? You cannot even tell a lady she's beautiful? That's a really bad Italian accent, by the way. Like really bad. But then he was like, but then the guy was like, yeah, you're not allowed to catcall. He's like, man, you can't do, like, what, really? Like, no, I don't understand this. And he got actually upset. He got so upset that he didn't tip him, the tour guide, who had nothing to do with the entire ordeal. So he didn't tip him. He was absolutely pissed, and then just walked off without saying goodbye to us. Because I don't know, his feelings got hurt. It was the funniest thing I think that ever happened, like at least to me, doing like one of these tour guides.
Jesus, what the hell?
yeah, man. Some people.
Maybe those laws are especially put in place for someone like him.
Yeah,
If he's so serious about that, then wow.
Maybe he spent the past year in jail and was like, really? Is it still true? Yeah.
Catcalling. I don't want to get into this right now, but there's a lot of cringe stories, man. A lot of cringe stories.
Yes.
I'm glad there's some legal protection against that, at least in some parts of the world. And I can't have you on the podcast though without talking about your work, man. Like I wanna hear what's really going on.
Sure. Is there anything like specific you want to know? Like,
I mean, you said you are almost never on LinkedIn, but I get like always your new product announcements over LinkedIn when you share like Product Hunt. But it seems like things have really been popping.
Yeah. I'm still working on HelpKit, which is this tool that turns Notion documents, like this note-taking tool, Notion documents into a professional help center or documentation page. So it's for like companies that already keep all their data in Notion, and then they can use Notion as a content management system and have like a little website put up. And that's what I'm still like focusing almost like 100% on over, it's almost 2 years now.
Nice.
And it grew really, really nicely. Well, I'm more than ramen profitable, luckily now. And been working on this mostly for like past 2 years, and I still enjoy it. There is though what I have to say, like being an indie hacker, like being able to work on whatever I want, like working on my own stuff. I did realize like the past few months felt a bit like a drag, because I just really like working on new things. It's a bit of the shiny object syndrome, which indie hackers specifically have an issue with. But still, like I've been working so much on the same app every single day, responding to customer tickets, building features, which is really still fun. But I just realized like I need something like new that sparks a bit of my like enthusiasm again. And I still haven't really found it. Like I have some side project ideas, but so like, yeah, that's like maybe the things that you keep seeing on like me sharing on LinkedIn. But these are all just like little side projects that I'm just trying to build and see if they go somewhere. But yeah, so that's what I've been working on the past 2 years. Still going great. I would not have thought that I still can, that I'm like HelpKit has around 300 customers B2B. Whoa. So I would not have thought that I can still be able to manage it alone, and like really actually sort of easily alone. Obviously I say easily. it's not really true, because like sometimes, man, it's like a roller coaster. Like last week, I just spent the entire week just fixing bugs. Like I didn't go out of the house, because it's like, I feel like being an entrepreneur is like, um, it's like being in a really nice beach surrounded by the biggest storm that you could ever think of. And it's really, really nice until the storm hits you from like nowhere. And then you're like really in the middle of it. And then you really get down. And I think that's like, sometimes I have weeks where I maybe work like 4 or 5 hours a day. But then, and then sometimes I even feel a bit guilty. Like, this is maybe weird, but like, I just feel like, actually, right now, I'm actually, because like back in the days when I was bootstrapping, trying to make products actually work, I was just spending 16 hours a day working on stuff. Like I just almost burned out on this. So I told myself, once I make decent money, I will take it a bit easier, just for my mental health and my actually physical health, working, prioritizing like health more. And I've been doing this. So sometimes when I work like 4 hours a day, I'm like, actually, like that's not that much, I guess. And but then I'm like, okay, maybe whatever. And then like next week, all of a sudden, like things start to burn and like everything is on fire. And then I'm already back to like, and then I'm sitting there at like 1 a.m., like being stressed out like crazy. And then I'm like, all right, I guess like it was great that I didn't spend that much work last week, because now I'm actually like, like I'm just firefighting here. And I'm really happy when this week is over again. So yeah, that's sort of like the lifestyle you kind of sign up for, I think, as a solopreneur. And I'm just really happy I found friends that are also sort of doing the same, so I can share like the pain sometimes, because otherwise I think it would be like impossible.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, it's a really big thing, man. There's just so many components to it, especially like this freedom, but 100% responsibility trade-off. Like on one side, you can do whatever you want, right? You can work on this project, you can do another project, because there's no one else that depends on either or. But on the other hand, if shit hits fans, then you're the sole person that has to walk through the storm.
Yeah, and it's also like, there are also things that I think, well, to be honest, like it's sort of like meditative. Like you learn, like you have to become very stoic, meditative in a way, in order to like, I don't know, in order to just like live through it. Like a couple of weeks ago, I had my underlying service provider just had some issues with like one of my services. So for people that try to access like their help center pages, every third request would not work. Like the most random error ever, right? But since, well, there is a lot of traffic going on, still every third request not working is actually like horrible. And you know, like all these service providers, it's like they take at least like 3-4 hours to respond to a support ticket. So you're like, you're just wrecked for like 4 hours essentially. And the first, like when the first time something happens, you have like an alert, it goes off and you're like, oh, was it my mistake? You try to figure out what's going on, and then you're like, I'm at the end of like my, like I tried everything. It seems to not be like my actual fault. It must be the underlying provider. But then you won't know until they respond, first of all. So it's your intuition. And second of all, you just have to sit there, sort of like this meme. I don't know if you for sure have seen it, where there's like this guy in this house that is burning down, and he says like, "This is fine," you know, like this meme, the coffee, this little dog or something. And that's exactly how you feel. You just sit in this house and you're just like, all right, I guess this is fine. I'm going to respond obviously to every ticket like ASAP, like, hey guys, I know something is going wrong, not 100% sure what, but like I'm working on it. And that's just like, yeah, that really messes you up. And I did not know that when I signed up for this. I think that's one of the, you see, like I saw this one indie hacker who was also working on, like, I want to say mission critical, because this is very exaggerated, but like it's still like the website should be up. It's like it's a help center, right? So when you work on something like this, now whenever like my I have like a Slack channel with like different, like I have like a Slack group with like different channels that essentially like show me things that happen in my app. And when like I have one specific channel that's just called like website uptime, and whenever I see like a red dot, like an unread sort of like highlight on this on this little channel, like without even checking it, like my heart rate goes like through the roof. It's like it's actually like sort of like PTSD. Like it's just part of the game. And yeah, like I really didn't think like that's just something that's like the negative, I guess. Like if you um like having a nice, or like I don't know if it's nice, but just being employed keeps your, I think, your happiness level sort of stagnant in a way, which can be really good. Because like as an entrepreneur, sometimes you get really like drilled down, like really put down and like stepped on. And I don't know, to be honest, you just got to start enjoying it. And just live with it, I guess. But yeah, that's something I didn't really think when I started this.
The craziness of the ups and downs and the unpredictability.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier that you didn't imagine that you would still do this completely alone. If you would do one hire, what kind of role would that person take on to help you the most?
Well, my initial response would be I don't want to hire. But if I would have to, I solely believe in this. But if I would have to, obviously it really depends on your business case, etc., etc. This is very just my opinion. But if I would have to hire one, I think it would be like a sort of like a backend server infrastructure guy that would be some sort of on pager duty, so that technically if something would happen, he has more knowledge than me, so he can just hop in and be like, I don't have to think about the immediate responses, like of like if something hits the fan. So that probably would be it. But then again, it would be more like a sort of like pager duty, I guess. Like it's not like someone that would actually be like working full time. More like a supportive role. And then I mean, obviously, which I'm actually might be thinking in the future, if it goes out of hand. Right now it still hasn't, maybe because HelpKit is actually dog fooding itself, so I am using HelpKit to support HelpKit. So it seems it's working, I guess, because my support
dog
tickets
fooding, you call that?
Yeah, it's like you you're essentially just using your own product. So yeah, it appears that HelpKit is kind of helping itself, I guess, almost sentient. And so the support ticket load is not that high, which means that I don't like, even if I would outsource it, it would be like very considerably low. The only issue I haven't started outsourcing support tickets is because, there are just some bugs in the app that I am very aware of that are just not economically feasible to like find a really, really good proof to, but you need to be some sort of like technical level to really understand how to respond to it. And so it just takes me 1 second to respond. And likely if I would have like a customer support person, it would just be a bit more like, oh yeah, right, that's like a tricky question. Like I don't have an insight into like the app, and then have to ask me, and then I'm like at 0 again. So, but yeah, that's my opinion. But don't get me wrong, I think having a co-founder or having employees like can be amazing. I just feel like as your first startup, trying to do everything yourself just once, I think, is such an invaluable skill set. Just being, even if you like fail after a month, or even let's say a month, you should do something at least for 30 days. But even if you fail after a month, you at least been through it, and you know the struggle of how hard it is. Because like so many people just throw themselves into, either it's like a VC-backed startup, or it's like you bootstrap but with like multiple co-founders, and you just don't like, you just don't know what you want to even like what your role will be, and like it seems like a very easy thing to prevent if you just try a little product yourself, also making money, like actually getting revenue. Because the moment you start realizing how cool it is to actually get revenue, you might notice that 90% of your startup ideas don't need actually venture backed capital. You can sort of bootstrap it or get a little bit of seed money. You don't need a huge conglomerate backing you for
Mm.
unsustainable growth, which is obviously a very opinionated opinion.
Yeah, but like, let's follow that thought. So, how, if you were in the shoes of someone who's never built a business that generated cash flow, I'm not even talking profitability, but just like generated revenue, how would you go about evaluating an idea, or like designing an approach to make it viable for bootstrapping?
Okay, there are two things I think to this. The first one is, I think in order to start a company, you should be some sort of short term, even better mid-termish, financially stable. So what I mean with this is, if you should actually have a job, like a full-time job, best case.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking this now, like I never had this. So this is obviously me just speaking what probably perfect case would be, or a lot of people actually find themselves in, because the reality is most people have a day job. And I think you should actually start keeping your day job and then either reduce it to part-time, or if you can, really grind on the weekends. But this is also like I mean, for a specific time, probably it's viable. But best case, try to dial it down, have a bit of a runway, have enough like extra cash on the side that you can actually sustain a couple of months, and then work on a side, work on a little project on the side. And while you're still doing like part-time work, for example, and you have the financial stability, because if you're starting bootstrap, obviously, it's like this whole topic about like how do you bootstrap if you don't have any money, right? Like the only reason that I could bootstrap HelpKit was because I was doing it during my master's degree, in uh, the first like 1 year. Like I had 1 year during my master's degree, and I
Mm-hmm.
was making like roughly around like 300-400 euros with my little mobile app, which was almost enough to pay for my my room in Lisbon.
Yeah.
And then I had my parents, luckily, also giving me just some extra cash so I can actually like just live normally. Um,
Yeah.
and without that, would never been possible. So I think you do need some sort of like financial um, backing just to start.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean invest in the business, because you can do so much for free these days. You don't need
Yeah.
like the whole concept of needing a lot of money to invest in the business in the beginning. Like if you think about this, your business idea is already way, way, way too big. And like chances are you should start with like a really small idea that you can actually execute on, and not building the next Facebook. And
Could you just give it general, like it's always easy to point like at the this is too big
yes.
kind of examples, but what would be a doable example, just like generic, that it can also already be out there?
Okay, so I am going to tell you the perspective of some sort of person that has a bit of a technical knowledge. Maybe not necessarily needs to have, but I think it's like sort of the approach that I would say. So this is sort of borrowed from this great bootstrap founder called Rob Walling. He founded one of the first like really, really well exited like bootstrap companies called Drip. It was like an email campaign builder. Anyways, he's doing a lot of like education around like the whole bootstrapping thing. And he has this
Mm-hmm.
approach called the stair step approach. Stair step approach, which is like, to start being like a solo founder, you should start with like different sort of business ideas and you work yourself up. So what does it mean? Well, on the very bottom of the stair step approach, you have ideas that are a little bit easier, right? That are more easier to execute. And I will get on what I mean with this. And then on the very top, you have like really, really like crazy moonshot ideas that you want to execute, be it make the next Airbnb, or like going full Elon Musk and build a rocket, which, well, is like a crazy thing. But so what is like something you can start with? And like the best thing that he like sort of recommends is like doing digital products. And digital products are things, for example, like you as an individual have some sort of knowledge that other people are probably very, very interested in learning from you. There's this whole philosophy of like, you don't have to be like, you don't have to be, um, like you don't have to be the wisest person in the room. You only have to
Yeah.
be wiser than the person below you that wants to learn from you. And in most cases, the person would actually prefer to learn from someone that is slightly better than you and not someone that's actually like a master or something,
Yeah.
because it's very hard to apply.
Relatability.
So what this means is, like, for example, like digital products, it's like right now people are selling, I mean, the easiest thing is like create a PDF, like create literally a PDF on a topic that you're really interested in. And some people use this as like the easiest things is like to hop on a trend right now, like AI, write a PDF about something interesting in AI. Like a lot of people started writing like prompt guides. So they actually wrote just simple PDFs or a Notion document. It doesn't matter what the deliverable is. It's sort of like a literally just a Word document. It's just a page or an Excel sheet, or an Airtable sheet or a Notion database, whatever it is. It's just it's like information gathering, I guess. So that's like the easiest way of like a digital product, right? It's something you can easily create like an Excel sheet of like uh the best websites on learning how to code. Okay, this is a very generic example, but that is actually a very interesting source for someone that wants to start. And you can potentially sell that because you gather the information, like this whole idea of like information is like, is the modern digital gold stuff. And obviously this is a very, very simplified example, but if you just think about the idea behind this, just like teaching someone something that you know just a little bit better than them, and you know that they're kind of interested in this. This is like the first thing. This is like the digital product. And the idea of the stair step, I guess, approach is that by doing this, you focus on different things throughout like your business endeavor. When you start doing when you're selling like a very helpful informational product, like creating the informational product is not the hardest thing, right? Because yes, it's hard to get, maybe hard, sort of hard to gather the information, but not really. Like creating a PDF, it's not that hard. However, the actual hard part is learning how you can sell this to people. So in this first step, you actually go out there and you learn a little bit about marketing. How can I actually reach these people? How can I get someone, the product that I made, to actually have someone to give me money for it? You learn how to use platforms that allow you to actually sell digital products. There are things like Lemon Squeezy, Paddle, technically also Stripe or Gumroad, all of these tools, right? You learn how to use these kind of things. So this is like the money gateway in the beginning. So I think, because like that's the framework you need to approach. Like you have this product, but then all you need to focus on is how I'm actually going to sell this and with what tools, right? Tools are really important. What kind of tools are you using? And they should be easy, right? Et cetera, et cetera. And so doing this, you will act and like you do this until you make a bit of money, even if it's just like 3 sales. I don't care. But if you do this,
okay, to break this down,
yes,
you use some part of your expertise on a topic where you know there are people that want to get to where you are at right now. So be it any big interest or be it something professional related or science related, whatever. And you just write your knowledge down in a condensed and easily digestible way.
Yes. Like the...
And just create a fact information sheet just for someone who starts where you were at a year ago, and by the end of the document basically is a lot closer to where you are at right now, ideally at the knowledge level that you are at right now.
Yes,
that's your product.
That's the product. It could be a video course, whatever it is. It just shouldn't be too hard to create. That's the most important thing. If it's too hard to create, like you're not gonna learn all the important things. That's why you don't start making a mobile app, because you need to learn how to make a mobile app first, which will take you
Yes.
a lot of time. And then you made a mobile app, and then you're exactly at this position where a lot of indie hackers are. They are amazing, usually developers, because they come from like a developer background. They make the app, which is sort of the easy part, but then they completely forget that you actually, first of all, have to build a product people want to use. They just build,
Yeah.
some people just build products because they know they can build it. And that's like, you do this in the beginning and everyone's doing this mistake, but you don't build products because you can. You build products to help other people. So this is the stair-step approach number one. You learn the business skills, how to use tools, how to sell this. And like once this is done, perhaps this is already maybe like a really cool side project. You actually can, yeah.
Like the one thing, like stepping stone wise for people to understand, you have this document. Let's say you spend what would be a good number of not too big, like 5 hours writing. Let's say it's a video. Let's say it's a document because it's easier, because otherwise people have to learn video course. You just write a PDF down, or write a Word document, and you spend like 10 hours on it. Just let's say 5-6 hours on actual writing, then you edit it for a couple more hours, then you bring it to nice form and build nice sections, and then you have that PDF done. If you don't have a social media following, how should a person start with the thought of distributing? You mentioned tools, but what does that actually mean?
Well, I think the tools pertain more to actually like the facilitating of like payments and that stuff. Okay. But it's a good question. Yeah, like I wouldn't use Stripe because of tax problems. I would use a merchant of record, something like lemonsqueezy.com.
Okay.
Not sponsored, or gumroad.com. Okay. These two are the biggest ones. And then there's also Paddle, like the game paddle.com. But I think Lemon Squeezy right now is the best. I use it. I really like it. We're really, really user-friendly. Second one is Gumroad, but they got a bit more expensive with fees and stuff. So Lemon Squeezy, really, really good.
So the easiest form would be you buy a website, put your face on it, or this is the topic. You can download the PDF here, but before that, you have to put in your credit card info to pay $5. And then
right. So exactly how it works is you create like almost like the sort of like a mini website already with like this payment tool, like it's a little landing page. So you can actually just send this link around, and this link has like an image, maybe a video and some text. That can be already enough. Like literally the payment link, but the payment link is a little landing page. But then obviously if you want to learn just a little bit about the whole marketing side, make a landing page with a free landing page creator, or so many tools out there now. And then have a button that say buy now, and then the link of that button is just the link to this payment gateway, and then it opens up a new page, and then it opens up a new page, and then people can buy from there. And then usually how it works is you upload, let's say, the PDF to this payment platform, and then once they enter the credit card details, there's a button, everything works automatically, it just downloads, and then off you go. And then you also have the email addresses, so you can even like reach out to them afterwards, and like just really streamlined. And you mentioned a really good question, which is like, how can you actually find people to pay for it? Like, how can you find customers, right? If you don't have a following. So I would argue, chances are you already have a following, because unless you practice like perfect operational security and you hate being on the internet, which I think if that is your case, the whole like entrepreneur thing would be a bit hard. Like it's just that's just the case. But let's say you're on the internet, like maybe you have some people following you, like on TikTok. Maybe you have people on LinkedIn, like a lot of people, right? Like you might have like 5,000 connections already on LinkedIn. So that's like an audience you can instantly tap into. Maybe on Facebook. I don't know if you're a boomer, maybe. And LinkedIn, Twitter, obviously, but like a lot of like not techies are maybe not on Twitter, but LinkedIn, whatever. And then one other big thing is Reddit. Very underrated, I think. Learning how to market your product on Reddit without getting banned is like a huge science. And that's something you absolutely have to learn. But and you have to learn this the hard way, which is getting
By being
probably
banned.
banned in a couple of subreddits and then creating a new account because you failed miserably. Because obviously, self-promoting is horrible, and technically you should not self-promote, right? Because there's no value trying to get people to buy your stuff,
Yeah.
like, right? But there are ways, like online tutorials, blah 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 blah. If someone like wants to learn this, I'm happy to guide you into the right direction. Like there are ways how you can interact on Reddit in the comment section, or even write a really informational post and then
Yeah.
just sort of drop a link to your product because it's really helpful in the context of the information you provide. And that, like, Reddit, it, like, because like there are so many people on Reddit, it's like a fully like sort of semi-anonymous online community space, right? So like people, it's like the front page of the internet, right? So that's like an amazing way of tipping into a potential community. And then also, man, again, so many other things. For example, you like user forums. Back in the day, it's not that common more these days, but user forums, for example, like if you're really into photography, there's still like a really vivid like online photography forum where people are just like asking questions. This is also, by the way, just a really, really great way to find actually business problems. If you go to Reddit, if you go to online forums where people hang out and always ask questions, well, what do you think they will also do there? Well, look for actual solutions that they might be willing to pay
Mm,
for. So spending just an
smart.
afternoon in subreddits that you're interested in, where you could see yourself building a product on, very important. Never build something because you can make money. Build something because you want it for yourself, or you could really see yourself being happy building this for 3 years, maybe, or even 10. Let's say 3. Um, don't build something you think you can build because you can and because you will burn out. You have to have passion. That's the very first thing. But then, yeah, go to subreddits, just browse through, like, or
Mhm.
even like use the search function on Reddit and search for, maybe they have the questions that you think could be a potential business problem already. So
Yeah.
these are all ways how you can, like, this. That's a first starting point. How to get people without sort of having an audience, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So to summarize this, take something others don't know, but knowledge they might want, put it into an easily digestible form, then create an easy way for this product to be bought and accessed, like Lemon Squeezy,
Yeah.
where you have the landing page. You don't need to know any big web development skills. You just make it as easy as possible and as fast as possible for your product to be on a market.
Yes.
And then you build on ways to reach people, be it on social media, be it on Reddit where it's more topic organized, be it in other forums where people have a certain problem and you could help them with this information, or be creative, all sorts of other ways. Stand outside on a big plaza with a sign saying $5 for my great PDF. Some way to get attention, for people to get seen.
Right.
See you. Okay.
And
Nice.
so that's the thing. And doesn't this sound sort of approachable? It doesn't sound like you need investors. It doesn't sound
No.
like you need to know how to code. It doesn't, nothing of this is like in this first step. And like, like, this is what you absolutely should do before you start I don't want to say real business, because this could potentially be an actual real business, right?
Yeah.
Because just as a funny side note, like, these days people they're using Notion, like this note-taking tool, and you can like share templates. Like, people can create reusable templates on Notion. For example,
Yeah.
someone builds a little Notion document that helps you to track your fitness progress, because Notion has a lot of flexibility, right? So you can use their tables and whatever. So people are selling these templates. And I think like the best example is, there's this 20-year-old guy called Eslo, like EASLO on Twitter. And I met him when he had like 10,000 followers on Twitter. He has now like 200, 300,000 followers, and he's making around like 200 grand a year selling Notion templates. He doesn't know how to code. He's just teaching people how. First of all, he's now teaching people how to use Notion. That's what he found out he's really good at, right? So he has multiple streams of products or income streams, but everything revolved around in the beginning making really simple Notion templates. As easy as like a template that helps you to track your vitamin bills that you need to take. That's it. Sells it for $5. But then in the beginning, some people start buying, right? And then it's like a loop. And not gonna say he did an absolutely phenomenal job on Twitter, audience building and sharing everything, but still, just to give you a perspective, people are making like millions writing newsletters, like charging for sending out a newsletter every week. And this can't like also just, you might think like, oh, I need like hundreds of thousands of like subscribers. They're really hard to find. That's not true. Like I know friends, they have newsletters, like they have newsletters around like 2,000 subscribers, and they're charging like $1,500 per sponsor per email. And so,
wow,
right, like getting 2,000.
How many subscribers?
Like
2,000 subscribers.
Yeah,
and they charge a sponsor $1,000 for sending your email out to 2,000 people.
Yeah, with a little banner in like the first paragraph that says this email is sponsored by, and then it's like
holy cow.
Right. So like the thing with like all of this is you actually need to hear this once to believe it, and then you can go out and actually realize, wow, okay, there seems to be a lot of people interested in like value, information, whatever. So you can actually make money. Like I'm not gonna say this is easy. I just say this sounds much easier to start with than going out and making a mobile app or like a web app, like an application for like, I don't know, whatever, making the new AI product. So that's the first step. And then obviously from that onwards, you can take the difficulty in whatever way you want. But once you learn the marketing side where you don't have to focus a lot on the product, that's when you can go like rogue. That's when you can start either building on top of another platform. Like, for example, it's technically easier to build like little plugins, extensions for tools like Shopify plugins. Or in this case, like I built HelpKit on top of Notion. So I already had the whole like trend of people using Notion already like dragging me along, right? So that's another thing. Like you want to, like that's the second step, maybe build extensions, Chrome extensions or plugins for like different tools you use, all that kind of stuff, because you are actually like piggybacking off of like an already existing ecosystem. That's the next thing, which comes with platform risk, obviously. But again, this way, the marketing is not that hard, but because the underlying ecosystem is already sort of helping you. But this time you have to focus a bit more on the product. You have to learn how to make an actual good product that people want to use, user experience, blah, 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 right? And then the third one, last but not least, which like sort of the holy grail, if you want to call it like that, is like building like a software as a service or like a web application that just helps people to build stuff. And the reason that this is on the very last thing is because there's a rat tail of things that come along with building a web app. It's like, because like in the first few steps, like even in the first step, you learn about like the thing like with the first step, which is amazing, is you learn how to use like you go through like all the hats you have to wear in a company, but without really having to think about the product. You think about the legal stuff. Maybe you have to write the privacy policy or like a terms and conditions, all of that stuff. If you start building a web app as a software as a service, as your very first product, I mean, where do you start? Like you build a product. This is hard. Everything, getting feedback. But then you also have to think about like, oh, I need the terms and conditions for this product. Oh, and also GDPR exists. Oh, I have to think about databases. Where do I host my databases? How do I even host a database? Like, what if backups? Like, infrastructure.
Yeah.
like all of this on top of already all the business, like how, and then all of the most important things is learning how you can actually sell something, provide value, and get revenue first. Like if I could, like, I don't want to do this, but if I could tattoo like one thing on my body, it's like get revenue first. It's like the moment you get a bit of money from a product you created, it's there's like this German saying, it's like sort of like licking blood. I don't know if it's like
Tasting blood.
Yeah, tasting blood, right?
Mm.
Like the moment you just start getting this little like dopamine hits of someone actually buying something you created,
Yeah.
that's what you want to chase, and so much easier with the first approach. And I don't want to go into like all the like the other those are like the three things maybe, right? So
Yeah.
starting with the first one, I think everyone should do this. Like there is no exception. Even if you think you're a developer and you already know how to code, amazing. So keep that. Work on the business side first. If you don't know how to code, that means amazing. Maybe you don't even need to learn how to code, or find a co-founder that helps you with your little idea that is probably way, way, way too complicated.
Yeah.
And go crazy. There's if you're interested more into what sort of ideas are you should pursue with as a startup founder, there is an amazing podcast from YC Combinator, no Y Combinator, right? YC,
Yeah.
that talks about like startup idea pitfalls, like the biggest thing, like people thinking they're gonna build a new Facebook, right? Like,
Yeah.
essentially, I think if you don't wanna, I really highly recommend listen to it. Like really, like it's one of the best. Probably the best thing to stop preventing you from making bad business decisions and going down like a really bad mistake, because the TLDR is everyone thinks about B2C products, like making mobile apps for end consumers.
Yeah.
But this is just so hard. Like it is just like people are, if you make the new Snapchat, people are not from one day to another just randomly gonna use your app because it's a bit better. They're gonna stick to Snapchat because they know it, even if it sucks more. So many variables. The best thing you can do if you want to go into like actual like mobile apps, like SaaS products, is like focus on B2B places where you can actually charge more than $5 to $10 a month per customer.
Yeah.
Because if you charge, like there's this saying in the whole B2B world, right, that the higher you price someone, the easier the customer is to handle. And it's just so true. If you have a customer that pays you $10, it's gonna be honestly a pain in the ass, because they will feel so entitled. They think they own you. They're gonna reach out, have the weirdest requests. If someone's paying usually like $99, like a company's paying $99 a month, they don't care. Like they just, if they have a question, they're gonna ask, but they're not gonna think that you own them or whatever it is. There is such a big price difference in how businesses buy software versus how like normal people buy software, right? That's why most of you maybe still haven't bought like a mobile app, and think $1 for a mobile app is too much, but you would still pay. Well, if you have a business, you would likely still want to pay for a subscription for a video editing tool, because you need that to make cool videos. So that's the thing. That's maybe actually the TLDR of the video, but you should really, or like the podcast, you should really listen to it. So I think that's the most important thing when you start a business. Start easy with the product.
Just to learn the YC thing, they have several podcasts. Which one do you?
I think if you, right, we are multimedia here, so I'm just gonna find this real quick. It's from Y Combinator. If you, I'm not gonna find it now. If you just type in on Google or YouTube, Y Combinator business idea video. Jesus.
Okay.
Let me just idea.
I'll try to include that in the description later.
Yeah. Just put it into.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
It's a
Man, that
dialogue,
was
by the way, very important. The video, because they're like, obviously YC makes a lot of videos. It's the one of the dialogue. Yeah, just to let you know, like Michael Siebel, the new CEO, I think, or president of Y Combinator. Yeah, he is leading the conversation. Just to let you know.
Okay, nice. No, I'll make sure to include that. But man, that was gold. That was that last 40 minutes. You just helped so many people.
I hope, man. Like honestly, if I like, that's the thing. When you build products and you have customers using it, it's absolutely amazing. But I remember like a year ago when someone on Twitter reached out and told me that because I was just writing random tweets, they actually started their business and it's actually making money. Like, dude, what the heck? Like, that's like the coolest thing ever. Because just imagine, like, I get so excited about this because, like, I don't want to say life can be so easy because it's like being an entrepreneur is super hard, but I think you can create a better life for yourself by doing really cool stuff you probably already deep down maybe want to do, but you just don't know how to get started. And like if you have someone that tells you a little bit how to get started, that's like, I think like the big important thing. And then from there you just gotta fall into your own traps and like learn stuff.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. So big lesson here is define a small step where you already have the knowledge and just learn to convert this into a business and just start there.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Dominik, thank you so much. That was we should really do a podcast where we just talk. We'll just get to ask questions on all
I
the
agree.
experiences. I feel like there's so much more to dig in, all the experiences you've made in the last couple of years. And you're also such an amazing communicator. Like, that would be amazing.
Well, first of all, obviously I appreciate it. I also really enjoy just like brainstorming with you. So I think like this way of podcasting is actually really, really interesting because it's like it deviates a bit from like the traditional sort of like very interviewee like podcast format. And I really like it because it just like I just talk whatever I think, right? It's like not, I don't have to like really think too much about it. It's just all right, let's talk a little about. And I have also like, man, I have like, there are like thousands of questions I could ask you. Yeah, maybe we also do need to catch up like off the podcast, and then we upload it to Patreon or OnlyFans. Like Jürgen, by the way, is having his OnlyFans debut soon. So if you're listening to this, you hear it first.
All rumors. Man, no, thank you so much. That was great.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye.